All right, Greg, thank you so much. And obviously I see a lot of familiar faces, so I guess we'll get started. So just to give a little introduction about myself, I'm in my first year, Ian Schreier, Assistant Athletic Director for Sports Information here at Adelphi University. Now, as I said, entering my fourth year, almost 20 years already full-time in the profession, and now entering or in the midst of my first year on the EAST-COMM Executive Board as the University Division Representative. And as part of our new continuing education series here at EAST-COMM with respect to our town halls, we're hosting our December Town Hall Social today on social media. And for those of you that have been to a convention of ours in the past or came on last month for our initial town hall, this won't be so much of a formal presentation as it will be really an exchanging of ideas. We're going to put out some topics and we're going to let all of our contingents here within this Zoom kind of talk and find the best tips and tricks, best information that we can pass that we could bring back to our own campuses, especially regarding a topic that's so wide and ever changing like social media is. I would just say if anybody has any questions, obviously we have a lot of people here. So if anybody wants to chime in at any point, feel free just to raise their hand, put the emoji up. So this way we can kind of keep notes on who wants to kind of jump in on the conversation. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of individuals who will probably want to speak up. So let's get started. So just for most of us, obviously, I think most of us within this Zoom are still using, or it's just basically part of our day-to-day responsibilities, where we're using Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram on a day-to-day basis, whether that be we're using one general account or we're using a general department account or on top of team-specific accounts, depending what university, what athletic department, what you choose to do in your own respective departments. But obviously, we always find a way, as in the time that we've been at our respective universities, our respective schools, conference offices, if we have any conference office members here today, that we find sometimes we try to point out what our biggest successes are, but also with regards to social media, we're always finding a lot of challenges, right? So I guess to kind of open up this discussion, what are you finding to be some of your biggest successes? I guess in the time that, obviously social media is a very broad spectrum of conversation that we can bring up, but really in 2022, I guess where everything is so built on us pushing out content and doing so much from a content perspective, what are you finding to be your biggest successes, but also what are you finding to be also your toughest challenges in areas where you're trying to improve?
I would say on my end, I'm trying to get like the same audiences to the different platforms. 'Cause usually different audiences, like some people would like Twitter, some prefer Instagram, and some Facebook. I just got trying to figure out a way to get like the same more people to do all three rather than just one exclusively, just because we post like different content to each channel, and I don't want people to miss out.
I guess AJ, what time? I mean, you said that you're posting different content to each channel. So for example, is there something that with regards to your audience, is there something different? You say that there's something different that you're posting to each of your channels. So what type of, what type of content are you directing towards each of those individual channels?
Twitter is more like in-game updates, and Facebook's all about the graphics and the award winners, and Facebook's more about the releases.
Are you also doing anything with Instagram as well, or no?
Instagram, we're doing stories basically about like graphics, and then trying to pull people to the website saying read like the full release at yumax.com. That was where I was trying to get like people that follow social media exclusively to like our website.
Is anyone doing anything similar to what AJ's doing at Yeshiva, where are we still doing a lot of in-game tweeting with regards to score updates? Are we using, I know at Adelphi, we're using Facebook a little bit more seldomly, where we do get a lot of attention to our Facebook page from, I would say, parents. Parents is definitely still a big one. We're seeing it a lot from alumni. But whereas I would say a lot of our attention, at least more of our posts, I mean, granted, we're still doing a lot of native posting of our game stories. Obviously, Twitter is still very, very big for us, but we also do a lot of posting to individual team accounts. But also for Instagram is where we're finding where we're 99% really of our biggest audiences now, which is our student athletes as well, where we're doing a lot more native posting to Instagram that we're finding more than, I guess, Twitter and Facebook. Anybody want to kind of add to that, to what AJ was talking about, to kind of tell me about what you're doing at your schools?
I do at Ursinus, I do things pretty similar to what he said, actually. Facebook, I'm not a big on Facebook. I kind of just share stories and graphics or whatever. I think the great thing with Instagram is that you can hook it to Facebook because they, they're together. Instagram's been huge. I know we talked about that on the board meeting, where the reels, we focused on video and reels a lot on Instagram and tried not to do as many graphics as we can, because the students really seem to like the reels. I think we put one out of a touchdown catch. You got 16,000 views, which is great, back in September. And then Twitter we post stories there, game updates, but we've kind of found the way to do game updates with using, especially with home, where we use Twitter live cut. That's been a huge weapon with especially recently, of what we've picked up with our broadcast when we're at home. And the great thing with the Centennial Conference is that we can grab the link and since we're all in blue frame, we can throw it in there and then can do it for road games as well. So it's very similar to what AJ said.
Thank you, Matt. I guess just to kind of piggyback, I had it on my agenda to bring up, because I think Instagram Reels that Matt had reference to. So just by a show of hands, how many schools here are using Instagram Reels quite a bit on their campuses? All right, good, a good handful of you. We're really learning that for those, anybody who hasn't used Instagram Reels before, or just starting to get familiar with it.
We're starting to try to use them more. I have some student interns that I'm trying to get involved to start producing like get in the mindset of like, how can we start producing them?
I guess Matt, and I can kind of talk a little bit about what we do here at Adelphi too, and Mary, feel free to jump in as well. And obviously this is open to anyone that wants to talk and discuss it. But Matt, when are you finding to be like, I think the issue that we're finding with Instagram Reels is when is the best time to go and grab that content? Because putting a reel together really doesn't take a lot of time. For the most part, we're going out there, whether you want to use photos or videos, you can go out there. It could be something as simple as, I know, when our women's soccer team had opened the season, I just kind of stood out by the bus and grabbed a whole bunch of video of them kind of boarding the bus for their first road game of the year. I kind of made a note of it every few games to go out into the field during warmups. And really, you're really just capturing 5 to 6 seconds of content at a time. So Matt, when are you finding to be, I guess, the most optimal time for you to try to grab that content to put a reel together?
We are fortunate to have a good video student staff that is aware of big things, but they're mostly like in-game action. But the big thing is, like, the thing I want to try to at least, create better is to get like some pregame, like still shots, just kind of like somebody standing looking around, or like pregame high fives with somebody. Big thing for basketball, I always like to do, if I can, I like to do like quick shots of the players being introduced. I think mine are mostly like in-game stuff, and especially like with celebrations and stuff like that. Celebration's huge, and then because you can put the noise in there, I feel like that's authentic. But something I've started to do as well, and I feel like also shorter the better, because I feel like the shorter clips get more like even if it's just like a play or a goal or something like that, because I guess it holds attention spans. And what I like to do is, if I have a clip from the field, I'll throw like our broadcast on it too, and then throw that in a reel. That's gotten a lot of traction as well. So it varies from when I get it most. My answer is in-game stuff, but I would like to add like some elements of like not actual like game action, just kind of like, slow shots of people warming up or stuff, like standing around or something like that.
So Matt, at Ursinus, you actually have a staff that you're able to utilize to help push these reels out, right?
A little bit of both. Sometimes they're student made, sometimes they're made by myself.
Okay. Anybody else really who's I don't want to say that doesn't have a staff, maybe necessarily. I mean, I know some schools do have student run staffs that assist a little bit more with the reels. Are you finding yourselves, I guess, individually as 1, 2-man, 3-person shops, finding yourself doing the reels a little bit more yourself? And are you finding maybe a perfect time, whether it's on a game day or at practice or sometime when you find you're really getting a lot of good content out there with these reels, or no? So, I mean, I know, at least from just speaking on my own, from my own institution, I know we're really pushing a lot of student-driven content. I feel like sometimes what we tend to do as SIDs is we take on probably more than we can chew. And obviously that, whether that's coming as a request from coaches or a request from student athletes, we're really trying to push out as much content as we possibly can, but also just something we had our women's golf program do was we kind of gave them, whether it's we give them access to their own golf Instagram account and have them update stories. They've really been pushing. I'm sure all of you have heard about doing kind of a day in the life type of video blog, where you kind of send them to, they just take their phone, or if you have a gimbal and you send them with a gimbal, and really have them record just about everything that they're doing, or really just kind of let them have fun with it and let them really kind of push out. So our golf team was kind of interviewing each other. They were taking videos of them. I couldn't believe I got videos of them out on the course, but just little things of them during the championship segment when they had gone away to their conference championships. So I think student-driven content has been a really, really big piece, because it's something that the students themselves want to see. And it's something that really helps push out content on social media, on your own accounts. Any schools here really doing a lot of work with respect to student-driven content? I mean, I know Matt had really kind of referred to what he was doing with Reels. Anybody here really doing some work with regards to student-driven content, where the students are kind of handling the content pieces?
Yeah, Doug Spatafor here. I have the pleasure of now working with Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania. So home campus is Lock Haven. I've been at Lock Haven. This is my 17th year, but I'm lucky where I get to work with the folks at Mansfield and Bloomsburg as well. So Adam from Lock Haven and Mary from Bloom are here as well. So hopefully they can chime in. But I think you bring up a great point, and it's something that we've really focused on quite a bit, particularly here at Lock Haven over the last couple of years, but we've stressed to Mansfield and Bloomsburg in working together. So not me telling them what to do, but that student driven, I think, is so important, because I think the one thing that, like most of you, our staffs are a bit smaller. I think that's what I've always liked about the EAST-COMM kind of philosophy, is it kind of, a lot of us, division 2s and 3s with those smaller staffs. So we don't have, 12 people that can go out and do just social media for a big event, right? But I think that student-driven piece is so important, and something we've really done here, and I think it's worked well for us. And one of the things that we've really tried lately is to roll out TikTok. And when we have, it's been popular, and it's got a lot of good interaction. But what we noticed with TikTok, it took a little bit more time maybe than some of the other pieces. So what Adam and I have really done here at Lock Haven is trying to lean in on the student staff, because they kind of understand what the students want to see, and they kind of have that good voice and that perception. Obviously, a couple times we're like, whoa, we got to edit the music, make sure we see the draft, there's a bad word or kind of, something a little silly, and not every trend they want to hop on we think's a good idea. But I think that student voice is super, super important. We're lucky that, again, Lock Haven's a small campus. We have a really good student staff where we can lean in on, and many of them are student athletes too. We get a lot of student athletes that want to be a part of kind of our operation. So I think it's a really good way to work together and kind of lean in on them a little bit, give them some guidance and make sure you're looking over it. But I think you have to take advantage of their perception for sure.
Thank you, Doug. Anybody want to add to a little bit on what Doug is talking about? No, Doug, I think you hit on a lot of great points. Is really incorporating the students. I know our women's soccer program here always told me they were going to come to me with ideas of what they wanted to do with regards to helping to drive their content. And I thought this was probably one of the better years that we had in my 4 years here at Adelphi with driving content from our women's soccer team. And but unfortunately, for the most part, every time they told me they had an idea, they forgot to come to me with the idea. So, I mean, it's like they would say, we want to do this, we want to do that. That's great. Come over to my office. Let's discuss it and let's figure out a way to make it work. Because something that I know Emily's not on yet, but like Emily and I say to each other all the time is, can we do something well And then if the answer to that is yes, can we do it well all the time? Because I think we all know, once we introduce something new, and I definitely want to get back to what Doug was referring to with regards to TikTok, you can't take that away. It's very, very difficult once you introduce it. So that's why we kind of ask ourselves here, at least at Adelphi, those two questions, because if the answer to the second part is no, then we're probably going to put it on the back burner for a little bit, unless we find a way to at least make it optimal for all parties. For example, I know our women's basketball team has been begging for their own TikTok, and kind of went back at them with a lot of questions regarding who's going to be looking at this, who's going to be running this content. I mean, obviously in the end, it will run through our office, but by the same token, we try to keep eyes on everything and anything, but what about the one time that maybe something goes up that shouldn't go up, right? So I kind of want to just pass the question of TikTok now to the whole group, and find out how many of you, hey Wags,
Good morning, afternoon.
how many of you are using, just by a show of hands, how many of you are physically using TikTok on your campuses? Okay, so I see 2 and 3 and a so-so. Okay.
Yeah, you see me as a maybe. We tried. We're in the process.
Okay.
I'll openly admit.
We have the account. We haven't promoted, but we have the account. And
Yeah, same. That's.
I guess
Adam on the spot a little bit, because Adam's new and he's in his first full year here at Lock Haven, but he was a graduate assistant for me. I will openly admit, when he first convinced me that we should go the route of TikTok, I wasn't sure that it was something that not necessarily we should do. I thought that maybe we could have some fun with it, but I just wasn't sure with a small staff if it's something we could pull off. So I was certainly hesitant and reluctant. So I want to put that piece out there.
Okay, so I guess Doug, let me throw it back to my 3 PSEC SIDs here. I guess who is really maintaining, overseeing the content? How are you finding a way to get, are you posting consistently, weekly? Where are you drawing that line so far with TikTok?
So, and definitely, Adam, please jump in. I'll say this. So when we decided to go the route of TikTok, and we're kind of maybe in the middle with Instagram, we kind of call them, if this makes sense, our fun accounts, where when we decided to go the route of TikTok, we did want to maybe push the edge a little bit, right? Be a little bit more cheeky than we would with our standard, Twitter account or Facebook account. Again, knowing that we have to be super, super appropriate. Like we haven't done anything too silly yet, but we wanted to have a little bit of fun there. Put the mascot on a skateboard and do the ocean spray, the cool music, the Fleetwood Mac, have some fun, but have a little more fun with it and hop on some of those trends that the music that's appropriate but fun and kind of hip. But again, I think to your point, Ian, you bring up a really good point where we have noticed where we've been successful with TikTok. It's just hard. It's hard to kind of keep it going and be regular with content, because I think it takes a little more time and effort than just snapping a quick video and throwing it up. So we've worked really hard to try to develop a plan. And I think over the last month, with some student help, we found the right student to help us. I think we've kind of elevated our content there. So Adam, jump in if you want.
Yeah, you were kind of talking about timing. When we first started, it was kind of over the summer, when you'd have a little extra time to think of videos that you wanted to do. And we found that during the season, it was tough to kind of do anything other than just post highlights on there. But like Doug said, we got a little off track. There was times where we'd go like a month without posting a TikTok, but since finding this student worker who's really has a passion for it, I think we've probably been doing 1 or 2 a week at least, I'd say.
And Adam, if I could just kind of follow up on that, I mean, what are you seeing with regards? Because I know for me, I'm always looking at things from a quantitative. I'm obviously the quality of it is important too, but also what are you seeing with respect to? And I maybe call this a silly question, just because obviously we know how popular TikTok is, but we haven't seen it much yet, really, from an athletics, or at least from on a Division II and Division III level. We haven't seen it maybe from a college athletics standpoint as much yet. There's a very small pool to kind of pick from. So what are you seeing with respect to engagement?
It's been probably a month or 2 since we started getting back into it with the student worker. And I think I'd have to look at my sheets, but I think we've gained like probably close to 100 followers since then. So.
And do you know how many views you're kind of averaging on these videos, or no?
Our average views probably right around 2,000, I'd say, for an average.
Wow.
Pull it up right now. Yeah, depending on the video, it's looking like about 2,000.
Wow.
We had one get 37,000, which was a little wild, but sometimes you just get lucky.
And have you guys also explored the, I'm assuming it's something as simple as just kind of making an extra post, where are you also sharing your TikToks to your Instagram stories to drive content there as well?
Yeah, I try and do that with all of them. Instagram and TikTok can make it really easy. It's literally just like 2 buttons from your TikTok to get it over to your Instagram and post it as a reel or as a story. So super simple. And I don't know that I would know like what kind of engagement we get if we do or if we don't, because I usually just try and post all of them, but it seems to help. At least definitely in the beginning stages, like when I started the TikTok account, that was one of the first things that I made sure I did was I had to post it on our Instagram to kind of get our already strong Instagram following to be like, oh, like they have a TikTok now, let's go follow that as well.
I guess for those of you that are on the Zoom call, who are either using TikTok consistently, sparingly, or really just haven't touched it yet, I guess what have you as the, trying to get the words out appropriately here, have you been approached on your campuses with using TikTok? Have you decided just not to use it? I guess, I don't want to say where the challenges lied for us with using it. I know at Adelphi we're not using it yet, but just curious just to see, kind of where your individual school's challenges lie with, if you've been approached about TikTok and why you've chosen or not chosen to adopt it yet.
Sorry, Owen. Us here at Bloom, I think we would like, I say this, I would like to start a TikTok. I think our audience would really engage with it. It's just a matter of figuring out who and when to start creating and building the content. Because I don't think I'd be very good at it, just knowing my own strengths. So just figuring out how to start it and get the content and get somebody. I have a student who's going to intern with me in this spring, and she's very gung-ho with some social media and getting, and like that's what she wants, to build her portfolio around social media content and showing like a social media manager type content or a portfolio. And I think that's going to be one of her first projects, is how do we get a TikTok off the ground and make it sustainable once she departs from her internship.
I think that's the biggest issue, right, Mary, is just how do we make it sustainable, right? How do we do it? Can we do it well? And can we do it well all the time? I mean, we don't want to make something that's so popular and so prevalent right now, like TikTok. It's something that you want to make sure that if you're adding it to your so-called list of offerings of what you're doing with respect to social media, that you're doing it the right way. Owen, did you want to add in there as well?
Yeah, here at Mansfield, we started TikTok during the pandemic, and we had a student that wasn't getting enough hours from no events, obviously. So she took over our TikTok, and she did an amazing job. And I think that was the key, is having a student that's passionate about it. We actually had one go viral. It had like 200,000 likes and 1.9 million views. And when just being transparent, when our top level administration heard that, they sent us some different ideas that completely flopped, and they were really bad. And then we just kind of lost that student, and our account fell apart. So we weren't able to sustain it. I think having a student that wants to take it over, that you trust, would be crucial.
Okay, and I mean, I guess for those of you that are using it and have the student help run it, I mean, have you find that, again, I guess this goes back to the whole student-driven content portion of the conversation. It's kind of all encompassing. Are you finding that, I guess, are the ideas that the students coming to you, are you finding them valuable? Is it a situation where on our own campuses, we should be reaching? I mean, I think just reaching out for student help is so helpful to begin with. I know at Adelphi, we're using a lot of student help for graphic design. That's I guess another conversation. But with respect to social media, I mean, are you finding that the input that you're getting from your student athletes is helpful in helping to really produce better content and better social media, better efforts on social media for your department?
I mean, I've found that it's a lot more helpful because a lot of times we're caught up in our day to day. We don't really sometimes get or understand or can pick up trends as quickly because we're sometimes lost in our world. And so I think it's kind of crucial at this point to get that input and things from your student athletes, because ultimately if the goal, especially with social media, is that recruitment and retention, they're the demographic we're looking for. So I think it's absolutely crucial.
Well, I guess to add to that, Drew, are you already utilizing students in your day-to-day for what you're doing with regards to your push on social media, and in what way are you utilizing them?
So for us, we have a group of federal work study students that we have work for us, and then some of our interns that we've had working on graphics for us to kind of put their spin on it. I do video, and they kind of come up with different ways or different editing techniques for our show that kind of gets the eye. So it's just kind of a lot of little things. I definitely would like to explore it more, but what we're doing right now is we're having them have a creative hand in things, and it's leading to, I think, a lot more eyes on it.
Anybody else on that subject?
Let's throw in one quick example with the
Sure.
student help is I don't know how many of you took part in the NCAA diversity and inclusion social media campaign, that 3-day stretch, which the days run together. So I guess that was way back in October, which seems a lifetime ago. Here at Lock Haven, we established during the pandemic a social justice task force, and then I should rephrase that, an athletics social justice task force. So when we were planning for that 3-day campaign, we were really lucky because we pulled that student group together. We were trying to talk about what we could do to rally around some of that messaging. And our campus, one of the big things has been, as I'm sure many of you, mental health awareness the last probably couple years, but really the last year and a half. And as we sat in those meetings, Adam and I would say, and what I stressed to maybe some other folks on our team is, the students would say, hey, like, okay, what are we going to do? And I kind of turned it right back to them, that group of athletes, and said, no, like, what do you want to do? Like you need to develop the messaging, and then just look to Adam and I to help kind of push it out. Like we can take you should write the script, like the students. So I think they really felt empowered by that. And again, we have, I'm sure it's the same for all of you, because, not that the student athletes on our campuses are the best, right? But they're a group that wants to be engaged. They want to get their voice out. They want their photos out there. So we just tried to empower that group to say, no, tell us what you want. Like, come up with the ideas. And that really, I think, sparked some of the stuff where through working with that group, this like, well, hey, you guys should do this on social media. I'm like, I think that's a great idea, but we don't have anybody to do it. You want to come to a basketball game and do it? Like, they're like, well, yeah, I need an internship. Like, okay, come on, let's go. Because as you know, we'll here at Lock Haven, and I think I speak for the folks at Mansfield and Bloomsburg, we'll never turn away that help, right? Because we don't have,
Definitely
13,
not. Though.
14. Yeah, we'll take it. So I just trying to empower them to like, hey, like you have an idea, like we're all for it. And I think some of them were like, oh, we thought you'd be upset, no, oh, we should do more on Instagram stories. Like, hey, send us the pictures. Let's collab. Let's do whatever. So just trying to empower the students to be a part of it.
We spoke a lot about, just to begin this conversation, with regards to just more of the new innovations with respect to, using Instagram Reels more on our campuses, using TikTok more on our campuses. I guess of the existing, or the original infrastructure, if we want to call it that, with regards to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I think all of us could say a lot of us direct a lot of our attention on our Instagram account because that's where our audience really lies. But we do have different audiences in different places. But I guess where on your campuses, and this can this can go out to anybody that wants to answer. Where are you really feeding a lot of your attention to, whether it's as a one-person shop, two-person, multiple, however many you have at your respective institution, but where are you really directing your attention right now, and why that? Anybody?
Well, I'll throw something out there to break the silence. I think that's a really good question. And I just kind of maybe tweak it a touch. And, we've always rode that Twitter train like really, really hard. And I think that's just is that a sports thing maybe, right? Like, I feel like a lot of people will say like, oh, Twitter's not important. But like, if you're, I don't know, if you're watching the football game last night, you're on Twitter, right? Like you're checking it. So I think just to that point, like we've always really pushed a lot like through Twitter and considered that, at least at Lock Haven, like our main account, because we had a following. And to that point, I know there was a few emails circulating the last couple of weeks, like everybody, and no political statement whatsoever, but people were really panicked, like Twitter's going to go away, and they're posting like, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And I'm not a panic person by nature. So I was like, I just don't think it's going to go away. So we haven't really noticed a drop off on Twitter. So we consider that to still be our main account. And I think, Ian, you hit a really good point. Is Facebook is still, I think, important. We maybe just use that to share news stories, and especially positive ones, because we have, I think, the parents there, right? Aunts, uncles, maybe a slightly older demographic of alums or on Facebook. So like, that's still a good resource to us. And like I said, maybe our more fun, student driven, looking to engage students and prospective students on Twitter or on Instagram, excuse me. So that's kind of like, but no, we still ride that Twitter train really hard.
I would agree with you, Doug. I think that it's still important from a perspective. Still, obviously, we're most of us, I'm sure, here are doing game day graphics. It's become part of our day-to-day responsibilities. Trying, but I will say this, whenever with respect to, and I guess let's again throw this out to everybody out there, is that I think one area where I think I'm seeing a very big drop off, even though we're all still riding that Twitter train, right? Is I'm seeing a massive drop off on engagement on Twitter because of Instagram. I think when Twitter first hit it big, and I guess when we started using it really in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, I think it was great because that was the one main social media source besides Facebook that you went to, right? We weren't using Instagram yet, and I think and one thing I'm noticing, like I know at Adelphi, I tag my student athletes, especially even on Twitter. I find it actually helps to grow engagement a little bit, and even on Instagram as well. But just kind of going back to Twitter, I'm noticing less and less of my student athletes are on Twitter, and as a result, less and less attention is being paid to Twitter. For example, I know today we posted a video on highlighting one of our swimmers who was the conference rookie of the year last year, and kind of talking to him about what he's to expect for the year ahead. And we posted to all three accounts. And I would say Twitter probably hasn't gotten any engagement at all. I think last I checked, our swimming video on Instagram is probably up over 500 views, and it was posted within the hour. So I think, I'm not saying that attention needs to circle back on Twitter. That's not really what I'm suggesting, but also I think that we have to, while we enjoy the Twitter train, as Doug puts it, I think we also need to be a little wary sometimes of kind of breaking through the old habits. Also, I mean, I think we're all using Instagram on our campuses, but also by the same token, it's something that's, at least from a engagement perspective, right? That's where it might be dropping a little bit. Go ahead, Wags.
I think what's annoying for me on Twitter is, and I talked to my assistant Mark about this, and he's noticed we've not got a lot of engagement on Twitter, is that, I'm of the mentality, okay, I'm going to push out my info on Twitter. We're having a game today, here are the links. And then 5 links pop up, like, no, watch it here, from some España sports or something. That's annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, I want to like reach through the computer and tell those people knock it off, because it's annoying. It's on Facebook too. But I just think that that's, we had a discussion here, when when Musk took over Twitter a month ago. Is Twitter going to die a horrible death? Is he going to screw it up? But it's just annoying for me that I didn't grow up, but when social media first became something that we had, Twitter was the main engagement, and we always Twitter for everything. But now, what it just seems like it's a wild, wild west, and we can't control anything, is really getting annoying.
Go ahead, Drew.
So I think I've noticed as well that it depends on which team, because I feel like different sports and different teams lean. I feel like we've gotten higher impact from a lot of the smaller sports on Instagram, whereas your football, your basketball, your big boys that are getting the ones on Twitter and are getting that feedback. So it's interesting to see kind of that dynamic in which things, because we did a pumpkin carving competition with all of our teams, and we put it across all of the three big social medias, and it was vastly different in terms of voting throughout the one. So it was interesting to see, like, our cross country team mainly uses Facebook. They really don't use the other two. Like our football team, our basketball team, they use Twitter. Our field hockey team and softball team was all on Instagram, that they were getting all the votes. So it was really interesting in a case like that, which is really filtered to find your sport and support your sport, that we saw that quite that divide, that it depended on the sport on which social media that they really link to.
Yep, I completely agree. I completely agree with that. I try to know my team's social media strengths. All of them have an Instagram, so I'll post everything, all the content, graphics to Instagram. But some, they don't even bother. Some of them don't even have Twitter accounts, or some have Twitter accounts, but they haven't used them in 3 years. So I'll post, but football's big. I'll post football, a lot of interaction. I'll post a track and field something, maybe one like 1 or 2 likes at best. But I kind of just try to play to the strengths of my team accounts, and I'd say definitely I've shifted more to Instagram with my focus. But during the games, I'd say Twitter. With game updates, I would say I focus on Twitter.
I guess I think I had heard AJ before saying he was still doing it. Are there any schools that are still, I guess besides Yeshiva, that are still doing live game Twitter score updates?
A little bit. We will do, like, say a women's basketball game, for example, we'll do a graphic score update at each quarter break. And then my students are supposed to, but they don't always include then the links back to the live stats and the live video. So my push always is, if we're going to put a score update, push them back to how we're producing it live, because we're not going to do point by point for basketball. We're not going to do goal by goal for soccer. I think we did goal by goal, but again, it was push it back to our live stream and our live stats, and not like we just went on a 15-2 run or whatever. Well, we haven't gone on a 15-2 run in basketball yet, but that kind of, like, the bigger stuff but not constant, because we have that constant as a live stats feed and video. Because we stream everything at this point.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what
I would agree with that. I think the only thing we're pushing on Twitter as far as in-game updates are if it's a close game alert or something big's happening, to say, hey, tune in. But
yeah,
that's about it anymore with in-game updates on Twitter.
Yeah, I think to add to what Mary and Luke are saying is that I think that since we're streaming everything, I think the meaning of live score updates, I think we do it here at Adelphi now more during the NCAA tournament. Again, everything is streamed, so it's not like you always, again, seeing the engagement dip on Twitter, I think is just a reason where I'm kind of asking, are you allocating your resources elsewhere? For example, I guess how many schools here are still operating, I guess, off of one general department Twitter, Facebook, Instagram account, and how many have now kind of branched out now to a point where, like we do at Adelphi, where we are not only keeping track of our department accounts, we run our school's team accounts from an Instagram, Twitter, and I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking no. So I'm just curious. Obviously, I know it's a lot to take on, especially based on how many sports you have and how many bodies you have in your department. But I guess just a little bit about, I guess, if those of you want to chip in on why you're using department only accounts and maybe not team accounts, and maybe the vice versa as well.
We took the approach this year that, you know, and that's obviously been the way I've always approached things with team accounts. Team accounts are team accounts. Like I want them to take on the personality of the team. Like they know their program best. I want them to be able to run it the way they want to showcase their program. The only thing we've added this year is we'll supplement content, especially in game. Like especially in game, we'll do story updates on the team accounts as necessary. And then, you know, we're doing a bunch of collaborator posts too. But, you know, kind of other than that, I want the team accounts to take on the personality of that team. I don't know the personality of every team.
I guess, Luke, if I could just jump in and ask you a question before we continue, are you also keeping, I guess, are you, in addition to what your teams are posting, because we do that as well here, are you posting native content yourself to those team accounts just to complement them?
Only what we told all of our coaches that we'll supplement with, especially with in-game content. We'll do, mostly it's been halftime updates. We'll do score updates on stories. That's the only thing we're doing that's just us. I mean, there's times when if it's a bigger story on Instagram that we want, and on both accounts, we'll do a collaborator post with them. Either whether it's initiated on our end and collaborated to them, or initiated on their end and collaborated to us.
We here at Bloom, we only run the flagship athletic accounts. Because I can't create content for all 23 sports, especially especially some of them that, but
Come on, Mary, why not? Why not?
I don't know. Some of our coaches are wondering that, but I encourage all of our teams to create their own social accounts. Some of them just don't want to, and that's fine. But I know if I do one for, if I'm creating content for one, and I'm, so like say wrestling, for example, if I was pushing out content for our wrestling program last night during their match for the wrestling socials, then, you know, swimming's going to be at my door. Well, why aren't you pushing out content for us while we're swimming? Well, because I can't. So I encourage all of our teams to do it. One of the best things that we've ever done was invest in box out this summer for our teams. And the teams that are using it are ones that wanted to use it and are pushing out really great content themselves. And we'll supply photos, we'll supply raw content for them to use. I'll give them videos. I'll put highlights in their box out folders for them to push out with their own creation. But I am not posting anything to a team social account because it just opens up this whole big rabbit hole that I can't fairly take on. Especially, you know, prior to this year, I didn't have an assistant and I had a very small student staff that it was one person can't do it all. So I'm not going to do any of it. It was kind of my mentality.
No, I understand where you're coming from, Mary, and especially that goes back to the whole student-driven content portion of it, right? We can only do so much and handle so much. Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, for those of you who are lucky enough to have interns or student workers that want to get really involved, what has been your policy or best practices on handing over the reins to the main accounts where you want to keep your passwords nice and safe? Do you just hope you get trustworthy kids and give them the access to the kingdom, or how have you worked that out?
I guess I could jump in first. So, I mean, I guess, Ryan, it's a level of trust, right? I mean, I'm not saying we do it all the time. For the most part, for home games, we use our own student workers to do, I would say right now, and with respect to, and Emily's on, so she can add as well. with our own student workers, we do Instagram story updates at home games. We do keep a close eye. We make sure that they're using the proper verbiage as well. I think a couple weeks ago, one of our so our gym is the Center for Recreation and Sport, and I think they said come out to the rec center, which isn't correct. So just things like that. We also like to, because we're there for it. We host 3 media days a year. We like to use, we actually, while we're there and can actually see what they are doing, we give one member of each of our programs the keys to the car, so to speak, and say, drive it. And we try to put it in one of the more trustworthy individuals, whether it's a team captain, somebody we can trust that isn't going to put anything explicit on there. So that's just a start. But I know, like, from a conference office perspective, we've done Instagram takeovers. It's just a matter of kind of keeping an eye on it.
And then you change the password the next day.
Not necessarily, but
If I could jump in, Ian, and sorry for being late, everyone. I was on a D2 SIDA board. To your point, Ryan, when we have kids actually take over the Instagram and like they walk away from our office or we're not monitoring it, we actually have an outlined policy that they have to come see me. They read it, they sign it, and then we kind of talk about it, because it's an opportunity not for them to just have fun with the Instagram. It's an opportunity for us to educate them. I've brought up some hiccups from other institutions, right? Like the one that comes to my brain is Syracuse Women's Lacrosse. Kind of putting it into perspective, like, hey, this could get very severe. Like, you need to take this seriously. It's an opportunity for you to have fun and showcase your program. But in the same breath, we need to be a little professional with how we're running it. So yeah, we take the keys to the car and we bury them very deep if they don't abide by the things that they sign. And then I keep a copy of it in my desk, and we share that with the coach as well. So if that's helpful, if extending our guidelines or our policy is of any benefit to anyone, I have no problem sharing, and you guys can edit and change it as you see fit.
anybody else just kind of want to jump on that piece? I think a lot of what we've discussed here today is really about how we can get help. I mean, it's yes, what can we do to increase social media exposure? What can we do to increase the offerings of what we do from a social media perspective? But also for those of us that might be short-handed, short-staffed, where does the limit? Where's the limit? Is the sky the limit, or the limit the sky? So I think it's that's really just kind of the question that gets raised most of all, and obviously based on the conversation that we've had for the past almost hour, is just that I think it's obviously it all goes back to, I think we all say we all need more help and we all need more staff, but also how can we make the most out of what we have, right? I guess just to kind of wrap up here. Go ahead, Mindy.
Yeah, slide right in.
No, go ahead.
One thing we've tried to do this semester actually is do more with Instagram stories. And since we have all team run accounts, because we have 3 people, 33 teams, we're not touching them with anything. We've encouraged our coaches to, say, if you tag us in a story, we'll try to share it. But if we can't share a story if you don't tag us, so that way we have some of that collaboration, since we know they're putting out some great content, whether it's practice stuff or postseason competition or anything in general. It's like, we're not there, but you can do that, and we'll do our best to get it out there to everyone else. So that's one thing too. Just a thought.
I think it's a very important piece to add there, Mindy, because I know here at Adelphi it's something we see all the time. We see the amount of impressions, reactions that we get to Instagram stories. It's part of our day-to-day game day responsibilities. We don't just post to Twitter. I would say we don't even post as much natively to our Instagram accounts as much as we really try to get out the Instagram stories that go out on our main accounts and our team accounts. And that's the area where I think we're seeing also our student athletes really look more than anything. Obviously, you still get, like, I think a lot of us can agree, for those of us that use Instagram stories, but also post natively to our feeds, sometimes you'll get maybe 75 to 80 likes, maybe a few comments on a native post, whereas from a story perspective, you might get somewhere in the range of 200 likes, because it's just so much easier to get that information out. It's something for them to look at quick. I think we all know that our attention spans have dwindled quite a bit, to a point where we just want that instant gratification. We want something that we can see and turn our attention to very quickly. So Mindy brings up a great point about the Instagram stories. I guess just one last thing I want to ask the group here as we kind of get close to wrapping this up is I know just something that we've experienced is a lot of suspended, deactivated accounts having to go on Twitter and having to reset these accounts, whether you use TweetDeck, Hootsuite, whatever accounts you're using. Has anybody here run into those type of issues where they have to reactivate these accounts? Maybe it's because they haven't been used in a while, or anything to that effect?
Hi, I'll jump in here really quick. Alex Gutierrez from WPI. I actually had this happen with National Coaches Day post, a month or two ago. Here at WPI, we Rusty and I run all the Twitter accounts while leaving the Instagram accounts to our coaches. But yeah, so I put out a National Coaches Day graphic and then immediately retweeted it from all of the team accounts. And then within the next 48 hours, I think 14 or 13 of our 15 accounts were suspended going into a Saturday where we had a lot of action going on. So I spent a lot of time emailing Twitter and getting them to basically copy and pasting the same message for every team account to get us access again. And sometimes it required resetting the password, and sometimes it required multiple emails. So very unfortunate. I will know now via TweetDeck to take a little bit of time in between retweets, but yeah, it was suspicious for spamming purposes and had no idea. So that was my most recent issue with that.
Which may or may not still be the case these days. You never know with Twitter.
The shock was that I didn't. I was the one that it was Alex. No shock.
I guess, Alex, have you found a one-stop shop solution to resolving that, or are you kind of in the same boat as us, where when we find out that those accounts have been deactivated, we just have to make sure that the same phone number isn't on them, so we're not getting like saying, oh, this phone number is in use and we have to wait to use another phone number to get a text code?
I tried the phone number at first using different phone numbers. Rusty's phone number, probably one of his children's phone numbers, and that didn't work. So it's just been emailing when that happens, and when they don't get to you in the time that you want, I just kept peppering. Really was annoying in that case, and finally got everything pretty much within 20 minutes. So yeah, the phone number option didn't really work out too much, as you're limited to only like 3 accounts or something like that. But yeah, the constant emailing will do it eventually.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Just want to thank everybody just for all the content and all the information. Hopefully everybody got something that they'll be able to take back to their campuses, or you're already within your office, but just kind of take back within your office. Again, Doug, especially, thank you for all the information on TikTok that you were able to provide. And for those of you that might have come in late, we're gonna have this recorded, hopefully reposted to the EAST-COMM website if you want to use it for reference, just based on anything that we discussed today, going from TikTok to Instagram Reels, just to the overall to staffing, who we're using to really help get the message out on social media and where our resources are best applied. Just keep in mind, this is going to become a monthly event here hosted by EAST-COMM. We're going to try to host one of these a month, these town hall socials, hopefully with a different topic each month. Please be on the lookout that we will be having an abbreviated virtual, of course, Wally World on January 10th. That's the same night as the College Football Playoff National Championship game. There will also be information being released with respect to that, to a 50-50 raffle that will run starting next week straight through January the 9th. So the night right before the Wally World will be held. Also keep in mind that the EAST-COMM membership drive is still ongoing. It's $50 per school, not individual. So that $50 doesn't, so if you're a 3-person office, you don't have to pay up $150. It's $50 to cover the entire rate of your office. And also will include a discounted rate on your registration fee should you be coming to Springfield for the 2023 EAST-COMM convention. I think we're currently at 54 memberships last time I checked. And just
Yeah,
a
just
reminder,
go
ahead, Luke.
The national championship Zoom, social Zoom is the 9th, not the 10th of January.
Oh,
The 10th is a Tuesday.
okay. Thank
'Cause I have
you.
a home basketball game. That's the only reason I know.
Thank you, Luke. So January 9th, my apologies, not the 10th. And that the convention, as I said, is in Springfield from June the 20th to the 23rd. And that room registration is already currently available through our website at eastcomm.com. And should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our executive board at any time. We have members of the board currently on the call. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. Before we sign off again, any last questions? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Wishing everybody a very happy holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to all those who observe, and Happy New Year. We'll see everybody in 2023.
Bye, Rusty.
Hey, Bryce, where do we get those antlers you had?